Hey, before we get started, I want to thank our listeners. Our show has grown tremendously. And I want to thank our partner, Building Beyond Me. They've done so much for this show, and their motto is believe in being better, standing together, and learning forever with your community. Building Beyond Me is a place where people share their stories. They connect through past experiences and really bring us all together. And I want to thank our sponsor, New Creation Treatment Center, that works hard every day to help those that are struggling with substance abuse. And I can attest firsthand their compassion. Why? I work there a little bit. I facilitate some groups every week. They have all levels of care and they do good work. And for anybody that wants to be a sponsor and support for this show, please go to our website and click on sponsor. You can make a one-time donation or monthly. We will highlight you on our website and mention you on our shows. Building Beyond Me is a 501c3 nonprofit, which is where your donations will actually go. And this means that you can most likely write them off on your taxes. We can also bring you on a show. If you got a story to tell and a great message of hope, we would love to hear it. Now, since our main goal is to help those suffering, we're going to verify your organization. We confirm its quality because we're not going to promote something that we don't believe in. We promote organizations that we believe hold great integrity, good morals, and services that really promote healing and to empower your clients. You can reach out to me personally also at emccoy@highwallclean.org. Okay. One of the greatest things that I like about doing this podcast are the people I get to meet. Great stories, tremendous fighters. And we're going to meet today Kim Bellis, that has an organization with a very cool name, and I think it fits nicely with our name. Sober is the new cool. We'll be right back.
Trapped in a dream, archaic nightmare, taunted by past, climbing Everest without a rope, light without a meaning, week without a day.
This is Eric McCoy, and I am with High Wall Clean. Let's get high. This show has had guests from many places in the world, and today we're actually going to Canada. And I want to ask my listeners, have you ever been to Canada, eh? I just wanted to say that. Well, in the United States, and I did a little research on this, that the latest statistics I could find was that about 60% of U.S. adults drink alcohol. Now, the best I could find is I did a little research, around 80% of Canadians drink. And their drinking age is 18 or 19, I believe, depending on where in Canada. And drinking, according to the World Health Organization, drinks in Canada more per person than the national average. And so we have a guest today who I believe fits well with us. The question, what is cool? Well, when I was young, drinking and drugs were sold as cool, but as my life evolved, I sort of had to reevaluate what is cool. And I always honestly could wish that I could sort of hand over my knowledge to those who believe this and to actually show them. You know, many friends dying from either overdose or some had heart attacks directly related to meth use. You know, family going to sleep so drunk they never woke up. Not cool. Myself getting arrested 10 times in my life, getting knocked out, causing an AVM, or also known as a lesion in my brain while drunk, having multiple seizures, with one while driving 70 miles an hour down the freeway, multiple head injuries. My last guest, who took ecstasy for the first time, was in a coma for 2 months, had multiple strokes, and now has permanent damage that affects her speech, her balance, and actually she started having seizures. Not cool. And I started this show because I always found those people who were determined to convince themselves that life is going to suck sober. No fun, no pleasure. Well, as I've said before, highness is not a property of drugs, but a property of people. You don't get high on drugs. You get high on things that we possess. God gave us this ability to get high. Getting high clean. No side effects. You don't have to kick. Go through withdrawals. Deal with major depression when you run out. You get to achieve your goals, your dreams, your visions, your passions. You can find true excitement in life. That is cool. And my guest today is Kim Bellis, who is the founder of Sober is the New Cool. And I couldn't agree more. And I'm actually going to combine our name briefly to High While Sober, because it's the new cool. And so many things sobriety brings us is cool, healthy relationships, fun, success, happiness, and that list can actually go on and on. Kim, I want to thank you for gifting us with your presence today. How are you?
I'm great, and thank you for having me as a guest.
Absolutely. We spoke briefly before, and I sort of cut you off because I didn't want to get too much information, since my listeners and I both want to learn together. At least that's the way I see it. And the little bit I do know, and again, I want to do this saying it just because you're from Canada. You started this to help your son, eh?
That's absolutely right. That's exactly where my story started in 2013. My son got sick. He started having grand mal seizures. He was an avid football player, like any normal 13-year-old kid that just was high on life, high on sports. And from one day to the next, life changed. So he had to get, once he got diagnosed, we realized he had to be on medicine the rest of his life. And there's just no way that booze and medicine are going to work. So that was just the way our life was going to be. And after he started getting better and not having seizures, I said to him, you've got to get back out, be with your buddies, have some fun. And he'd call me and make me come and get him half an hour after he'd get there. And naturally, after a few times, I said to him, what are you doing? This isn't, you don't need booze to have fun. And he said, Mom, I don't fit in. Everybody's drinking. And then I said, no, you really don't need alcohol to have fun. And as I said it, I saw I had a huge glass of wine in my hand. And I thought, wow, you are a hypocrite. So at that moment, I don't know why, I just decided to say to him, okay, I'm going to quit drinking for 3 months and support you and show you that, yes, in fact, life goes on and I can go out and have fun. And it was 9 years, 2 weeks ago, that I am sober, and I've never touched another drop.
And so he's got about the same time sober then, right?
Well, he really never had an issue with, no, because at the beginning, trust me, after he stopped having seizures, I think we were about 2 years seizure free. And naturally, he went to a party, asked me, could I go, Mom? I said, sure. And he went with my older son. So I thought we were kind of in a safe zone. Needless to say, it turned quite bad quite quickly. We ended up in a hospital, back in an ambulance, back to the hospital. So drinking and his medication do not work. So we had a few of those, I have to say, at the beginning. Just being a 15, and like you said, in Canada, people start drinking, the legal drinking age here is 18. So naturally, they start much earlier. And so now I would say he's definitely, he's just 4 years seizure free last week. He's probably, I would say, 6 years without booze. He just doesn't even have an interest because his life is just, he can't drive, he can't do anything if he has seizures. So, this is the choice we have to make. And he realizes that, sober's the new cool started for him. And what's come out of it is this huge movement of people that needed to know that, one, they had no shame in not drinking and not have to explain. And like in his case, it's not an addiction to alcohol, it's a health reason. But for me, I realized that I was drinking too much. And this is the biggest gift I've given myself. So here we are.
Yeah. And I think I asked you before, and is he epileptic or is that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So he was diagnosed fairly young then.
Yeah. 13. At 13.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was a rocky road, it was just, and I mean, come on, let's face it. I know how many people said to me, "Oh, you never had a problem. It's okay. Nobody's going to know. Just come over here and have a cocktail with, I won't tell." And I thought, I promised my son something. How could I do that? For him, it was definitely hard, and it still is. I find with different social or parties and things, he'll stay for a bit. And I too, I'm one of the first ones always to leave. I don't stay till 2:00 in the morning or whatever anymore. Right. And life goes on, and we get up and we remember everything that happened. We don't miss any memories, and we're in a good mood.
Yeah. I love the nobody will know, right? I teach self-esteem a lot, with clients, and we always come across that topic. And I always tell people that if you ever have that thought, only I will know. Don't do it, right? Because the reality is that your judgment of yourself should matter more than judgment of other people. And so if we're ever doing something with that idea, nobody's going to know. The worst person does.
Absolutely.
Which is us.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I would have really hated myself because I would have felt like I wasn't also just letting myself down. I was letting him down. And that would have killed me. That in itself, Yeah.
And I love the name. Like I was saying kind of in the beginning, I love the name because it really is. I mean, sober is the cool. I mean, getting loaded, I had years of experience of substance abuse, including alcohol. I mean, I was definitely one that whatever you got, I'll do. Everything behind it, nothing was cool. Alcohol, puking, waking up half naked in the front of an apartment complex, getting knocked out, getting arrested. I mean, none of that was cool.
And I mean, really, drunk doesn't look good on anybody. I don't care who you are, even if it's once a year. It doesn't look good, right? It just doesn't look good. So
it looks ugly.
Yeah, it really does. And, I think that, the misconception I had was when I was drinking, I thought I was, able to communicate better. I was, funnier. I could dance. I could do this. I could do that. And I got to tell you, I'm much more fun now than I ever was when I was drinking. Mm-hmm. And so it's a huge lesson for me, even though, was I an alcoholic? I don't know. We have problems with alcohol in our family. So I definitely have that in my genes. Do I want to have another drink? Absolutely not. Never, ever. Not today, not tomorrow. Never again. It's just not an option for me.
Yeah. I mean, defining whether you have a problem is up to you.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is. I mean, you could, like we can take, the DSM-5 and define people's substance use disorder, mild, moderate, severe. But I don't think any of that matters. If you say it was a problem, then it's a problem.
and quite honestly, the fact that I felt so much better in the first 3 months. I'm not going to say it was easy. It was not easy. I didn't go to restaurants. I didn't go to parties for the first year. I really didn't. I stayed very quiet. But I mean, I had more energy. I was sleeping better. And having a child that's sick, my anxiety was high enough without the hangover, So that was a blessing in itself, the fact that I quit drinking.
Yeah. Yeah, it goes to that question. I mean, how good of a mother can you be when you're drinking? And a lot of times we miss things, we sort of out of it, we disconnected, we're not communicating great. like I said, I love the name, and so apparently you're telling me that, I mean, you've really kind of blossomed as a
Well, yes, because when we started Sober is the New Cool, I went to get, a trademark, which just, the last few years it's been, in the US, in Canada and Europe, we have it, securely passed away. But everybody told me you cannot say sober and cool in the same sentence. It's just not going to work. This is like, oh, it's a cute little phrase, but nobody's going to catch on. And you know what? It has. And now we're going to become a charity. We're just waiting for the final stamp of approval. And just to help as many people as we can, because quite honestly, listen, when I was young, I used to drink and drive. And most people did. My kids do not drink and drive. So I knew there was a way that things were changing. And I have to say, I really think the younger generation, I had someone at Christmas time that said they had decided to become sober and they were 72 days sober. And my kids, the cousins, the young ones, like under 30, went crazy. That's fantastic. You're not going to have brain fog. You should have heard the words they were using. It was like, that was the best Christmas gift you could ever get, listening to kids think it was cool, right? Mm-hmm. And it is, like having, all your thoughts together. And listen, if you can have a drink or two and not have a problem, I'm all for it. Sure. But this is my slice of heaven. And, if somebody needs it, hey, we're here and there's a lot of us. And we're quite fun, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm kind of on the same page that I don't really think, it's my place to tell people not to drink or not to do drugs. I mean, that's something up to them, Yeah. And again, I even said drugs too, because I mean, it's people's choices, that they make. Sadly, I can say that in a lot of cases it's going to get ugly, for people that do things strictly for the or the drug or alcohol induced pleasure,
Well, don't you think though that I mean, in my experience, I find all the people I help, it really comes down to a lack of self-esteem or some kind of sadness that the booze and the drugs are just covering it up. Yeah. And once they start to remember, what, they are worthy and they are, they should have a good life. And there's so many good things, and the past is the past. And I'm not saying they shouldn't take responsibility for what they did, but we can't change it. So move forward, help other people, be good, help somebody else on their journey, whatever it is, and just be kind. And I can't see that not helping this world be a better place.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, I think you're right on track, because the people that, typically are able to drink responsibly, are people that have their shit together, know, and, it's the people that, have low self-esteem or, like you said, have the pain, have depression, have anxiety, aren't comfortable with their feelings, have too much stress in life and don't know how to solve problems and just let stuff stack up. Those are the ones that are going to typically overconsume, just because I don't want to feel,
Yeah. And they just need to, I think a lot of times, a lot of people are lonely, especially now with COVID, it's even more so. But I think a lot of people are lonely. They don't feel like they're deserving of anything good. So it's just kind of like that screw it attitude, like, and honestly, I mean, I thought with my son being so young, all the kids that are on this ADHD medicine and ADD medicine, and they're drinking booze with it. I mean, don't ask yourself why they're depressed. And mental health and booze, this addiction and mental health are going hand in hand. You're not supposed to drink with that medicine. And the kids are all doing it, right? So it's got to stop, because, I think that right now it's, the depression and the anxiety and the suicidal rates and, like you say, people not waking up. We have to stop it somehow. And we I don't know what the answer is, but I think if you check in with somebody every day, whether you sit there and you don't talk, or you hold their hand, or you listen and let them cry, or whatever it is they need, sports, whatever. If everybody could just do that with one person that's going through some sort of addiction or mental health, I think we'd be a lot better off.
We would. And the problem being is that we live in a society that hates them, hates substance abusers. We hate drug abusers. We hate, part of my fight is that stigma of substance abuse, that these aren't bad people. They do bad things. Now, I will agree with that. Definitely they do bad things, but that doesn't make them bad people. And I impress upon everybody I work with that, and I see this. These are good people. These are smart people. These are people that haven't figured out how to deal with life in responsible ways, but they're genuinely good people.
You're right. Until it's your kid or your sister or your brother or your cousin that's in that boat, then you realize, wow, no, they're not bad people. They just made a wrong turn, or they need help, or, listen, a lot of people drink and don't get drunk. So, if you have an addictive personality or you get hooked on pills or whatever it is, until it's in your backyard, all of a sudden your attitude changes quite quickly, doesn't it?
Yeah, we had in Orange County here, we had a district attorney who was Tony Rakakis for a lot of years, who was the drug offenders. Let's lock them up. Let's throw away the key, long-term prison terms, as long as they could get, until his son became an addict and went to prison. And then all of a sudden, oh my God, we better do something. We got to help these people. And that's true. I mean, that's exactly what we see, and that irritates me.
Yeah, because you're right. Until it's somebody's son or somebody's family member, they don't, and my whole point is, if your son or daughter or husband or anyone you knew was suffering with cancer or a heart attack, heart issues or whatever, diabetes, you would go and say, who's your doctor? How can you help? Do you know anyone that can help my friend, my this, my that? And when it comes to alcohol and drugs and mental health, it's like there's shame and like nobody wants to talk about it. And when you do, it's like, oh, you're talking about it. Like when I talk about it, like I'm talking about the sky, and people just go, wow. Like, and I said, well, how could my son not have been depressed? Everything was taken away from him. He couldn't ride a bicycle at 13. So, I mean, it doesn't make sense. And of course he was going to make mistakes, and he did. And, we suffered the consequences. And now he realizes if he drinks, the car will be gone, everything will be gone, because he'll have a seizure. And just by law right away, that goes, right? It's not even, you have to get caught by the police. Right. So,
Now does he stop taking his meds, or is it just not effective?
No,
they're just not effective.
Well, it won't. No, they don't work. They don't work. So he has no choice. He takes pills in the morning and at night, and as far as they're concerned, it'll probably be lifelong. So it's and you know what? Quite honestly, now he's not really affected by it, like not having to drink. He doesn't like being around that when people get a little intoxicated and start talking too loud or acting weird. I think that makes him quite uncomfortable, and he is only just 24. So, it's not easy, but he's coming along, and, he's starting to help people. He's done a few podcasts, and some of his football buddies sent him some notes saying they were either 3 years off drugs or were suffering with drug problems, and was there a way he could help or I could help, and what could we do? So you know what? That's really good, because if he helps somebody, it's going to help him heal, right?
Yeah. I think some people would be surprised how many people have a substance abuse problem.
Oh, yes.
Like your next door neighbor probably, and then because it is. I mean, obviously, when people use, it's very secretive. We don't want people to know.
No. You must have people, when they contact you, say most people, don't think that they have a problem, or they hide the bottles, or, they get drunk at the party, or they drink, a few nights a week, but it's ongoing. They get up in the morning, they have booze, and it's, it's like you say, it's much more in our, hidden than we really know.
Yeah. And bigger.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
it's killing people. It's killing people.
the death rate is just unbelievable. I mean, the United States, I mean, we're having the huge overdose, I think last year we had 97,000 people that died of overdose, something like that. But then alcohol is even worse,
Yeah.
I mean, alcohol is closer to 98, 99,000 that die of alcohol related something every year too. Alcohol is actually, I think, by far the most dangerous drug out there.
Well, listen, people can get it anywhere, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you could get it at the grocery store, you can get it at a convenience store, you can get it at a liquor store. Like, I mean,
Yeah. And it's acceptable.
Yeah. And like
we encourage it.
Yeah. It's kind of like people say to me, you don't drink? Oh my God, your life must be so boring. And
Yeah.
I think, oh my God,
Yeah.
you have no idea. You have no idea how much fun I'm having just listening to this, right?
Yeah. That's what I try to convince, people of all the time. Life is fantastic sober. I get high every day,
Yeah.
but I do it differently.
Exactly. And you remember everything.
I
Imagine that.
Yeah. I went to, one of the greatest things, and a lot of people find this, when they get newly sober, they get worried that, oh God, I'm not going to be able to do the things that I used to do. Right. But truthfulness is that it's about learning to live in a world where it's at, not have to do it ourselves. And then it's not about hiding from the world. I don't know if you ever heard any of my stuff, but one of my favorite bands of all time was the Grateful Dead, right? So in the early 90s, of course, running around doing lots of drugs, doing all that stuff. And when 2015, I'd never really seen a Dead show sober. And in 2015, they did the 50-year anniversary of the Grateful Dead, and it was almost 25, I think, years ago to the day that, or 20 years ago to the day that Jerry died, right? And so I went to it, and I got to go to it, and my wife and I went. The greatest time, I was clean and sober. I remember it. And it's just so much. It's so much more real, when you're doing it clean and sober.
And I think that like people are starting. I'm happy to see these, sober October, dry January. Now people are talking about dry February, and if nothing else, just to be in better health. Because let's face it, it's as you get older, we all get little things that go wrong. So we don't need to age quicker than we have to, right? Because life is precious. So, that's kind of nice that it's, but the few people that did contact me in January were afraid of what it was going to be like without booze. Mm-hmm. Like that was a huge concern. And right there, they have a problem if they're afraid to let it go for 30 days. Like, mm-hmm. Right. And I said, well, just do it one minute at a time, one day at a time. Just keep going. Try it. You have nothing to lose.
It's a journey. That's what I always do too. It's like, it's an exciting journey that we get to go on, and you get to figure it out.
And that brain fog, not having that brain fog. Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, to me, that's like huge. That, what I say last night, what I do, who'd I text, and then, staying out too late, not feeling good, not exercising, eating too much the next day. It was just like a vicious circle for me, mm-hmm. Definitely, vicious circle. So,
yeah, I mean, a lot of us find that it's just, you lose time too. I mean, that's the thing, it's like time just goes and it's gone and you never get it back. And that's another thing that I just love about recovery is you get to enjoy each moment, enjoy the time. You're not passing out, drunk and waking up, again the next day and have no idea what you did sometimes.
No. And the other thing too, the fact that, I think you and I are helping people by talking about it and making it normal. I think it's got to become normal to talk mm-hmm. about this and, enjoy your life, because trust me, I have enjoyed my life much more in the last 10 years or 9 years than, and I had a good life before that, I would have to say, you know, I was pretty happy. But I really think that the people I've met now, the substance of who they are, they're great people, they're creative, they're smart, they're funny. You know, I mean, I could name a million qualities that they have, and they're honest and they're authentic and they own, you know, who they are and, you know, the problems they have and, you know, what they need to work on. And, you know, and I think that they really are willing to help others. And that's what I'm hoping. If I help someone, you know, I'm 61, I figure I'm kind of like on my way that way, you know, as opposed to, so the young ones have to take our, you know, take the reign at one point. So if we can help them, they're going to do it for someone else. Right.
Mm-hmm. We stay young though.
Yes, absolutely. Well,
especially up here, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that also too, not drinking for me, I'm more open to try different things now, you know, like I never, you know, more yoga or meditation or whatever somebody tells me that could be good for me mentally, spiritually, you know, healthy for my health. I'm more open now. And I do have more time because when you're drinking, you're sitting down a lot and you're eating a lot and you're not moving a lot, are you?
No, you're not. You're not really doing anything. That's the whole problem is that, you know, you got a whole lot, you know, meth was my drug of choice. And, you know, this was always the epitome of it. It's like you start 1,000 things, you finish none. I always got things to do, but what am I really doing? Nothing, you know, and you really never get anywhere in life. I mean, that to me, again, the cool part is that I can achieve my goals today. You know, I can finish things that I start. I mean, this show for me has just been the greatest thing in the world because, you know, I meet so many great people that have such cool stories, and they all find being clean and sober cool. I mean, you know, that's really the good things happen. Good things happen. And
with our internet too, we're so lucky. Like I had 2 sons and I'm happy to have 2 sons. I never had any daughters. And I feel like I have daughters all over the world now. Yeah. I have one, her name is Natty, AKA Sober Badger. And she's from London, England. And she asked me to do a tattoo. And I thought, oh, I'm so ribbons and bows. I'm not a tattoo kind of girl. But you know what? I said, if that's what she needs to feel that she matters, off we went on WhatsApp, her in London, me in Montreal. We did a matching tattoo with an infinity sign. And here it is. So the white heart is for me. Oh, the white heart is for me and the pink heart is for her. So she knows she's never alone. And I know, you know, she's much younger than I am. And I know that she will help many, many young girls. And then, you know, I have other girls that are like nurses that are like helping other people that were addicted and, you know, in comas and whatever and whatnot, and are young and they're coming out of and being full recovery, and they're wonderful human beings and they're living their lives and they're, you know, really, really happy and healthy and helping others. So it's just a good thing we're doing, I think.
Yeah, it's it is cool. We get to meet people all over the world.
Yeah. Yeah. And you feel like you know them, right? It's like you start talking to somebody and it's like, wow, you just like there's a connection somehow right away. You know,
it's like who we connected with, Lona. You know, Lona. I mean, we do an entire show, Walk a Mile in My Shoes. You know, which is, I feel Lona is a great friend of mine. Never met him.
Yeah, exactly.
Never met him face to face. You know.
Yeah. And it was me too when I started, you know, when I met him, it was like there was this instant connection. And these young girls in London, they have a thing called besober.cic, and they have sober brunches. Like on last Sunday, they had 565 different women and men meeting in different pubs or restaurants or parks doing sober stuff. I mean, it's incredible. It's incredible. You know, what's going on. So I think we're on our way finally.
Yeah. Sober in bars.
Yeah. And you know what? With the mocktail thing and whatever, and once people start drinking anyways, they don't even realize you're not drinking, quite honestly, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's funny to me because people are almost embarrassed to say sometimes they don't drink. I don't really quite get that, tell you the truth, because to me, it's like, I'm proud I don't,
Yeah.
I mean, I go, you go to a restaurant, the first question, would you like a glass of wine?
Yeah.
No, I don't drink, and sometimes you get a really,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't drink, what's the problem?
Yeah. And I've had people, like, I have a hoodie that I have and we sell, and I wear it outside, and people have said, "Oh, you're one of those." And I go, "Yep, I am." And I just smile, my big smile, and I just keep walking because I figured, yeah, maybe, buddy, you should try it. You might be surprised how good life could be.
And it's interesting. A lot of people don't realize that. A lot of people don't realize that. And a lot of people just settle. I mean, they just oh, this is just what it is. I just settle, for things. Even with jobs. I mean, I tell people that all the time. If you got a job that you're just kind of settling, look for something bigger.
Yeah. And something that you love, right? Something that you love. And I think a lot of people with the booze, it becomes a habit. I know with myself for sure, 4:30, as soon as it goes, finished homework with the kids, that mom culture club thing, was huge for me for many years. And really now I think about it and go, what was I thinking? Jesus, I could, you're making dinner and you're opening the bottle of wine after you've had a martini and
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not, I don't regret for 1 minute not drinking it now.
Yeah. So let me ask you a question on Sober is the New Cool. What is it you guys specifically do?
Well, basically people just find us either on Facebook or Instagram or whatever. And I'm quite honored that they share their stories with me, whether they want to stop drinking or, they're lonely or they're in drugs or whatever it is, that mental health. And I basically find other people for them to connect with. Could be, some people do AA. Mm-hmm. Some people don't want to do AA. Sure. So I'm like a zero judgment kind of person. Yeah. They can call me, they can text me. I'm always here. I do this thing called the I am exercise. I ask them to put their hand on their heart and repeat after me different positive affirmations. And so then I started saying, okay, I'm going to send them to you in the morning and at night via text message. So it's the first thing you see when you open your eyes and you wake up. And it'll be the last thing, hopefully, you see before you go to sleep. And then I decided, okay, that was work. Because most people said, oh, I said, okay. And then you have to start sending me back words. And they were going, oh, no. Because they don't really think there's anything good about themselves. Mm-hmm. So then I start with easy words like funny or sporty or whatever. And then as it goes, then they start to remember, you know what? I am artistic. I am, athletic. I am smart. And one girl, my young nurse, Kelly, she said, when I started with her, she said to me, I'm hardworking. I said, no. I said, Kelly, you're dedicated. It means the same thing, doesn't it? But dedicated, she smiled so big when I said, because I said, you have to be dedicated to be a nurse during COVID and in recovery. Holy God, And so it's like the trifecta, I told her. So it's just a play on words. And then slowly they just build their self-esteem. And then I do think that helps with their recovery, whatever they choose to do. There's two young girls, well, younger than me, the Sober Sisters. One's in California, one's in South Carolina. They do Zoom calls. So I'll say, do you want to do a Zoom call? If somebody needs a coach, I'll set them up with different coaches that I know, that I trust. And I just give them as much information to help them make the journey easy, and quite honestly, I'm overloaded with work, but it's all good. Yeah.
And I like the non-judgmental aspect. I mean, It's the same way that I am. It's like, whatever works for you, do it.
And also, if you make a mistake, I don't believe in this 4 years and you make one mistake and you go back to day one. That's not my concept. For me, I believe it's 4 days less 4 years less a day. That's it. Like, let's not go negative. You feel bad enough. I'm not going to make you feel worse, right? I just don't believe in that. I don't see
12-step
how that
program.
helps.
12-step program. I have a problem with that, but
Yeah. And, like, honestly, I think too, the other thing about recovering out loud, I think is important, that everybody knows that, they don't. I've met so many people, especially in the last 4 years, and they go, "You don't drink?" And I go, "No." Oh, they go, "Oh, thank God. I don't drink either. How are you going to do this?" I go, "What do you mean? How am I going to do this?" I just say, "I'm not drinking." And they said, "What do you do if you go to a wedding, to a party?" I said, I
That's
tell
right.
them, I'm never going to miss another memory. And that's it. And they love it. Then they feel like, wow, she has a party and she's got like non-alcoholic booze. She's got booze. She's got everything. And I talk about it. For me, it's not an option, period. And I'm not shy to say it.
Yeah.
So it opens the door, right, for others to be able to share.
Yeah, it's that commitment. We commit to this, and I won't use or drink no matter what.
No,
there doesn't have to be anything that I have to use or drink over.
No. And what do we, I would have so much to lose, I think, because my life is, I feel that I've gained happiness. My recovery has given me happiness more than anything else. And, like there was an article written about us here in Montreal, and we're known like in the United States and Europe a lot, but not so much here in Montreal. We're starting to. And so the article, the caption on the front page of the newspaper said she went sober for her son. And my mother, being 84 years old, was like, "Oh my God, what are my friends going to say?" Because I've been telling them all this time, you never had a problem. And I said, "Mom, if they read the article," and when you opened it to the next page and read the article, it said she's an ambassador for sobriety. And it was a different context she took it, right? But even my own mother was, until her friends called her all the next day saying, "Oh, that's fantastic. She owns it. My daughter doesn't drink. I stopped drinking, or my husband stopped." And the conversation exploded, but she was worried at first. She was worried that I would be judged, So we got to take that away.
100%. I mean, the truth is everybody's got problems. I mean, that's like, it's really funny for me because, like, you got the workaholic, right? The workaholic that has all the same consequences as the substance abuser, except for tissue dependency is the only difference. And we encourage that. We support that. Oh, great, man. You just, you're fantastic. You're a supporter, but that's a behavioral addiction, right?
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's got something they do compulsively,
Listen, look at all the disorders that there are, that, eating, like you said, working too much. But people say, "Oh, she's a shopaholic." Everybody laughs. They think that's quite cute, don't they? Right? So it's quite funny that they could say that, you could lose your home. You could lose all kinds of stuff being a shopaholic, but nobody quite sees it the same way as when they say you're an alcoholic, do they?
True.
Like it's, so we have to change that. We have to make it, and I hate these, like, our merchandise that we sell, we give back to a place called the Douglas Foundation. And, there is a psych ward, and people say psych wards, which I hate because I find it so 1950s. Let's get out of this 1950s nonsense.
Sure.
And it's a place to heal. It's a place to heal. It's a place to get better. And it's a place to finally realize your own worth and get a good life.
Look, what I say all the time is that for those of us that have substance abuse problems, we're the luckiest people in the world. We are. And we can actually become better and healthier than the people that don't have those problems because we have more pain. I mean, think about this. The more pain we have, the greater the lessons. We sit down and we say, I'm going to work on my self-esteem today. Yeah. Who does that? And that's what I always try to reinforce, that is like, you guys are the luckiest people in the world. You've had enough pain to slap you in the face. And now you get to say, now I'm going to become the greatest person I can be. And we work on things those other people don't. And
quite honestly, we are the most sensitive people, I think, also, aren't we?
Oh,
So
absolutely.
we care. When we care like, probably way too much. But you know what? What a gift, to
Yeah.
be able to care
Yeah.
and not be a narcissist.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely. And then, you know what, and you, I mean, I think you're kind of on the right track too with the, we do have a lot of caring. We have a lot of feelings, maybe more so than other people, which is also why we delved into substances, because we didn't want to have that to deal with all that crap. It's not crap, but that's the way we saw it then.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, and the truth is, I tell people this too, is that, welcome to life. Because, when you do get clean and sober, you are going to, welcome, you're just reborn, because now you get to feel, but you got to learn to deal with it. And you got to learn to embrace them,
Yeah.
And that I think with, those of us that do this, that's courage. I mean, we're courageous because, we are going to walk into this and walk through it and feel and not run from it anymore.
And the saddest thing for me that I see is when people actually drink or do drugs to forget about all these things. It's still there the next day, right?
Yeah.
It didn't go away. So you know what? And you just feel worse. So.
Oh no! Not only did they not go away, they've gotten bigger.
Yeah, yeah. You've gotten a few more problems 90% of the time, right?
Yep. And that's why it is important. I think there's a lot of discipline, that we have to have, in recovery. When problems come, we deal with them. We don't push them aside, because then they stack.
Yeah,
stack them up. We get frustrated. We have to learn to live with balance, which I think is very, very important. I struggle with, like, balance is probably one of the things I struggle with the most, because I do so many different things that I do fail sometimes to give myself that quiet and relaxation time.
Yeah. Well, I have to say, I'm pretty bad at that too sometimes. So
that's, when people feel overwhelmed, it's usually their life's out of balance somewhere.
Well, and I think too, it's like what you say, when you're really feeling the feeling, it's tough, right? And it's not always pretty, and life is hard right now with COVID, with sickness, with getting older, with our family members, with not seeing people, with political situations. There's all kinds of problems right now. So it's not easy, and a lot of people are alone.
Yeah, and that's based on perspective too. On how you look at it, and how you view it. And, for me, like I looked at this COVID situation, the lockdowns, this gave me time to be creative. This gave me time to do things that I'd been putting aside, that I should have been doing before, that I pushed aside. and so now I had an opportunities to do these things. So it's all about perspective,
Yeah, because for many families, like my family, we sat down together and had dinner like so many evenings that we hadn't done in years, because one's going to the gym, one's going here, one's going there. You're working late or you're doing whatever. And for us, we really reconnected, which was good.
Yeah. Do you have problems or do you have opportunities? Right.
Exactly. And that's the other thing I say to people often. There are problems, but let's find, if somebody keeps telling you about a problem, let's try and find the solution. Let's not talk about the problem. Let's say, okay, if that's what's bugging you, how do we fix it? Where do we go? What can I do to help you? And, I really think, and always try to see the positive side of things, because there is a way, there is a way with words to make yourself feel better and realize, how great we are. And I think people have a lot of problems admitting that, there's the qualities they have, or they forget, and come on, people should, think about how great they are, or what they could do, or what they could accomplish. It's not just because you're a CEO at some company that you're so damn great. No, like you've got qualities and the world needs you because you are unique, right?
Yeah.
Because how boring would it be if everybody was the same?
Oh,
My
yeah.
God.
That would suck. That would really suck.
Exactly.
I had a professor one time. She was, gosh, such a great lady. And she had said this thing one time. She was like, positive paranoia. You know, and you're kind of thinking about positive paranoia. What does that mean? You know, well, paranoia is the world's out to get me.
Yeah.
The positive paranoia is the world's out to give to me.
Oh my God, I love that.
Yeah.
I'm so stealing that one. Oh,
But
brilliant.
it's such a cool concept because, again, going back to perspective, you know, the things that I'm a teacher, but I'm a student. And as long as I remain a student, I'm always going to learn things. I learn from you. I learn from my I learn from my clients a lot, you know, and I tell them that too. I said, you know, I'm a teacher, but I'm a student also. Because I'll tell you, I love it when sometimes a client will say something and you're just like, oh my God, I never thought of it that way.
Yeah.
You know, like that is good. It happens all the time, you know, and the world's out to give to me, you know, so if I can find lessons in things, if I can find, you know, something that's a positive, then it's worth it.
Well, and I think too, that the other thing I gained in not drinking was I was always afraid to say I didn't understand or I didn't get it, you know? And now I realize if I'm the smartest person in the room, I'm in the wrong bloody room, you know? Like there's nothing wrong with me saying, you know, I don't get it. Explain it to me. How do you see this? You know, like, because if you can learn something, why not? Right. And I was always so shy that, you know, why wasn't I a doctor? Why wasn't I an accountant or whatever, you know, I should have been as far as my parents were concerned. You know what? This is who I am and this is what I do well, helping others. So that's my gift. And that, you know what? When I started doing that, that's when my life got happy. Yeah. And I think others can find their passion and their gift and, you know, find happiness too.
Yeah. Get rid of all the woulda, coulda, shouldas, right?
Yeah, exactly. I had that for a long time. I know.
Woulda, coulda, shoulda, but you didn't, you know?
I know. And you know what? Now looking back, I think, you know what? Everything that's happened has brought me here. And what a great place to be.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, that's, you know, for me too. I mean, all of my experiences in my life, you know, we could say like, there's nothing you've ever done that made you who you are. So you're not your actions, right? You know, because like we can say we've done bad things, but that doesn't make me bad. And so there's nothing that ever, you know, I ever done that makes me who I am, but it did help shape me because of all the lessons I can gain. And I love who I am today. Yeah. And so I can appreciate all of that stuff, all those bad choices I made. Because
and I think for me too, the thing is, you know, it took me to be 60 years old to say I am enough and honestly really believe it. Like, not just, you know, over the past 8 years, I've been helping people with these affirmations and yes. But it took me till 60. I don't want people to wait till they're 60 to realize how great they are, you know?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, definitely.
Life is precious. Life is precious, right?
We can figure it out now.
Yeah.
Wherever you are.
Hopefully.
Whatever age you're at, you know?
Yeah. And we won't judge. We won't judge, you know? Just keep coming back as many times as you have to get it right. Right? Yeah. That's my thing. You know, I have some young mothers that are still struggling, but every so often they touch base and, you know, they're trying again. And, you know, one time it's going to work. It's going to work. It's just, let's keep trying. And I really believe in that. I really do.
Yeah. I can't stand the judgment, you know, of people. I mean, you know, if you relapse, I mean, that's choices you made. That's on you, you know. We're here for you. And, you know, reach out and we'll help you. And if you do it again, reach out again.
And I feel too that I say to people when they tell me they made a mistake and they're sad and they're pissed off and they're this and they're that. And I say, if it was me telling you that I relapsed, what would you say to me? And they go, well, I wouldn't say that. I said, well, Dad, why are you saying it to yourself? Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
So
I want to ask you, well, I always like to ask this real quick, is there something that we haven't talked about that you do want to talk about?
Well, I think, you know, just that mental illness and sobriety go hand in hand, and we really, really, really have to check in with others, and really not send a text message and leave it at that. Like really, honestly, check in and take better care of each other and ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're gonna, I think this world is becoming a better place just with others knowing that we're not going to judge them, and we are a safe place for them to come and talk, and we understand. Nobody's perfect, and that's what I really say to most people.
Yeah.
I'm 61. I've never met a perfect person. So if you have, good for you. But I'm not going to judge you. I'm not going to judge you. So
Yeah, we live in a society that loves to judge a book by its cover.
Yeah, and I just think that if the world would look at how kind somebody is, or I see a lot of, when I used to work, I used to walk downtown Montreal and at 6:30 in the morning, and I would give a lot of food to the homeless and whatever. And I remember one time bringing coats because it's very cold in Montreal. And one young girl said to me, "Oh, I have a coat." I said, "Well, this one looks a bit warmer." She said, No. But she said, "My friend doesn't have a coat. Would you wait 10 minutes for me to go get my friend?" Like, she could have taken the coat. She could have sold it. She could have done anything with it, right? But there she was, freezing cold, and she went to get her friend, and I thought, God bless her heart. Like, that's like a little angel, right?
Yeah.
Like, so.
Yeah. Why don't we see more of that,
Yeah. And I have to say, though, when I was working and I would see the younger generation, they would give half their sandwich to a lot of people on the streets. I remember somebody telling me, "You have no gloves." I said, "Well, I just gave them to a young girl." And she said, "Oh, I'm going to do the same thing." People giving socks to the homeless so that their feet weren't cold. Mm-hmm. It's not really that complicated, and it doesn't have to be expensive or big acts of kindness. Small acts of kindness will help somebody. Yeah. And that's really, whether you're addicted or not, or, just get on being happy and being kind. Yeah. It'll go a long way. And I believe in karma. I do. I believe in karma. I believe when you're good, it comes back. And, my life is so full with everybody who I've met. I feel honored every day now. Let's worry about that, helping each other and, making this the world a little bit easier for one another.
That was the whole reason that Lona and I started that show, Walk a Mile in My Shoes, because it was based on that premise of, bringing understanding. And we looked at hate, and we talk about a lot of very controversial stuff.
Well, and I have to say, listen, I had, I've known people that were homosexual and lesbians when I was younger, and I'm very careful of how I speak. And I have different young girls that are in my world that I consider my daughters, and that are married to their partners. And before I went on Lorna's show, I called them and I was very nervous. What do I say? I don't want to say anything wrong. I want to be respectful. I looked up all kinds of articles. The more I looked up, the more I was nervous. I got, so confused. And they just laughed. And so did Lorna. He said, "Kim, you're the most loving person. Why? All you portray is love, and who cares? That's the least everybody deserves, is to love and be loved."
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and Lona is definitely it's like perfect. He's perfect for our show, because he doesn't let nothing get to him. Things don't really bother him in that aspect. He's a very strong person.
And that's going to be great for younger people and other people that need to share.
Yeah.
And for us too, for our, like the part in recovery that, if that's why they were in drugs or alcohol, because they couldn't say who they were. It's okay to be who you are, know?
And we got to learn to laugh at ourselves.
Yes. My God.
That's when you find the freedom.
Yeah.
We can laugh at ourselves. So I always want to ask, I always like to ask is, if you were to give a message to those out there suffering, what would you say?
I would have to say, you are so worthy of a good life. You deserve happiness. And we're here, and we are non-judgmental. And trust me, you can do this.
Yeah.
You can.
Yeah, I've said many times, I say, that for those out there suffering, I love you, because I know you don't hear that much.
Oh, that's true. That's very good too. Yeah.
And but yeah, thank you so much. Hey, I want to thank you really for doing this.
Listen, I'm so honored, because if anybody, I know I talk too much and I get so passionate, because I just want the world to know, like you said, we are good people.
Yeah.
We are, kind, and we are worthy of, having a good life, and so are they. So let's do this.
Yeah. And we all have faults. I mean, that's like what you said before, none of us are perfect. We all have faults. And that's why if we can kind of get away from the embarrassment, and just come forward and just share and just be you, and just, be who you are. And that's what I impress upon, because life gets easier that way.
And if you can recover also, not, that's going to help you moving forward too, to achieve your goals, and you'll get that sense of pride back. And I think that's the biggest thing that they can get, is that sense of pride when they do stop using or drinking or whatever, and get help for mental health. Because you know what? We're all just trying to survive and be happy, right?
Yeah. Just do the best we can through life, feel good. Yeah. Again, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it. And I want to thank everybody for tuning in to High While Clean. And as I always like to say, keep getting high, but let's do it clean.
And